In November 1932, the Australian military rolled into Western Australian farmlands with machine guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, and two soldiers with serious combat experience from World War I. Their mission? Take down 20,000 emus. Yes, emus. The big, goofy looking birds. The military opened fire, the birds scattered. Some fell, but most kept running at 30 miles per hour. After a month of combat operations and thousands of bullets fired, the official emu body count was maybe 200. The emus won. You're listening to Wait, That Actually Happened, where we prove history is stranger than fiction. I'm your host, author Daniel P. Douglas, and today we're talking about the time Australia literally declared war on birds. And yes, they lost. Okay, so picture this. It's 1932. The Great Depression is crushing economies worldwide. In Western Australia, things are especially rough for farmers around Campion and Walgoolan. See, after World War I, Australia had this program. They gave returning soldiers plots of land to farm wheat. Here's your reward for serving your country, they said. Go grow some crops. Problem was, a lot of this land wasn't exactly prime farming territory. It was harsh, isolated, and the government's promised subsidies, yeah, those never really showed up. These struggling veterans were barely hanging on when nature decided to make things worse. Enter the emu. Now, if you've never seen an emu, imagine a 6-foot tall bird that looks like it's wearing fuzzy brown pajamas. They can't fly, but they can run like the wind, and they travel in packs, sometimes thousands of them. They're basically the tanks of the bird world. Every year, emus migrate from inland Australia to the coast. But in 1932, something different happened. The emus discovered the wheat farms. 20,000 emus smashed through fences like they were made of paper. They ate the crops. They trampled what they didn't eat. They fouled the water supplies. Rabbits followed them through the broken fences and made everything worse. The farmers tried everything. Barrier fences? The emus knocked them down. Scarecrows? The birds didn't care. The farmers were desperate. They had survived the trenches of World War I, but they were losing to a bunch of birds. So they did what any reasonable person would do. They called the military. The farmers actually had a decent argument. Many of them were ex-soldiers. They'd used machine guns in the war. Just lend us some guns, they said, and we'll handle our emu problem. The Minister of Defense, Sir George Pierce, saw an opportunity. The military could get some good publicity helping struggling farmers. Plus, and this is real, they could use it as target practice for the troops. So, on November 2nd, 1932, the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery arrived. The unit was led by Major G.P.W. Meredith, along with Sergeant McMurray and Gunner O'Halloran. Their arsenal? 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The first attempt happened near Campion. The soldiers spotted about 50 emus and set up an ambush. The birds were out of range, but the soldiers figured they'd wait for them to get closer. Here's where it gets good. The local farmers decided to help by herding the emus toward the guns. Instead, they scared them off. The birds split into small groups and scattered. A few shots were fired. Maybe a dozen birds died. Day 2 wasn't much better. They spotted about 1,000 emus near a dam. This time, Major Meredith was smart. He waited until they were close, really close, point-blank range. He gave the order to fire. Well, the gun jammed after killing just a handful of birds. The rest, they ran. And here's the thing about emus. They're tough. Even when hit, they kept running. One soldier later said, they can face machine guns with the invincibility of tanks. By day 3, the military decided to get creative. They mounted a gun on a truck, thinking they could chase the birds. Have you ever tried to shoot a machine gun from a moving truck while bouncing across the Australian outback? It went about as well as you'd expect. The emus could run faster than the truck could drive on rough terrain. 0 kills. After 6 days, they'd used 2,500 rounds of ammunition. Number of confirmed emu kills? maybe 50, maybe. The media had a field day. Headlines read Emu War and Feathered Foes. One newspaper called it the Great Emu War. Conservationists protested. Politicians argued. On November 8th, just 6 days after it started, the military withdrew. But wait, it gets better. The emus kept destroying crops. The farmers kept complaining. So on November 12th, the military went back with a new strategy. This time, they set up proper ambushes. They studied emu behavior. They got better at predicting their movements. Over the next month, they claimed to kill about 100 emus per week. Major Meredith reported that they'd killed 986 emus using 9,860 rounds. Let's do the math. That's exactly 10 bullets per bird. In military terms, that's terrible. These were large birds that couldn't shoot back, running in predictable patterns, not enemy soldiers taking cover. 10 bullets per bird against targets that ran in straight lines. By December, the military gave up for good. Major Meredith tried to claim victory, saying they'd killed up to 1,000 emus. But farmers reported seeing just as many emus as before. Some historians think the real number was maybe 200 dead emus out of 20,000. So what happened next? The government went with Plan B. They put a bounty on emus. Turned out this worked way better. In 1934 alone, the government paid out bounties for 57,000 emus. The military refused to help with emu problems ever again. When farmers asked for military assistance in 1934, 1943, and 1948, the government said absolutely not. The whole thing became an international embarrassment. Newspapers around the world mocked Australia. Someone noted that not only had the emus won, but they'd done it without a single weapon because, again, they're birds. The military's only consolation was that they suffered no human casualties, though Major Meredith felt the need to point this out as if it were an achievement. But here's my favorite part. In the 1950s, when agriculture officials looked back at the Great Emu War, they admitted something amazing. The emus had actually helped the farms long term. How? By eating the insects that damaged crops. The emu population naturally balanced itself once farming practices improved. The emus had won the war, and they'd been right all along. You know what's wild? We're still fighting wars against wildlife today. We just use different weapons. Instead of machine guns, we use drones to manage wolf populations. We use contraceptives to control deer. We build multi-million-dollar overpasses so animals can cross highways. The Great Emu War reminds us that maybe, just maybe, working with nature is smarter than declaring war on it. Those farmers in 1932 saw the emus as invaders. Today, we'd probably call it wildlife management and hire ecologists instead of soldiers. So that's the Great Emu War, the time Australia deployed actual military forces against birds and lost. The emus are still there, by the way, thriving, probably telling their chicks bedtime stories about the time they defeated the Australian army and their machine guns. In the next episode, we're traveling to France in 1518, where hundreds of people literally danced themselves to death. No, really, it's called the Dancing Plague, and it's even weirder than it sounds. New episodes drop weekly. Subscribe to never miss history's weirdest moments. Your comments are welcomed and encouraged. Until then, remember, truth is stranger than fiction, and history is weirder than you think. Also, be sure to check out my Substack, Intelligence Bulletin, from author Daniel P. Douglas, for other podcast series, written articles, and links to my books. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.